All right, everybody, it's 6:05, so I think we're ready to get started. There's still a few chairs up front if you guys, for those of you in person, there's some up front, there's some a little bit in the crowd. My name is Kevin Polito, I'm your Neighborhood Affairs Director of the City of Miami Beach and Marketing and Communications team. So today is our first meeting. We're going to have 4 meetings related to our pilot program for this North Shore parking program. So before we get started, I just want to recognize some of the elected officials that are joining us. So we have Mayor Stephen Minor, thank you so much for joining us. We have the aide to Vice Mayor Laura Dominguez in the back, Aaron Soriano. I also see we have Monica Salinas, the aide to Commissioner Alex Fernandez, and I also see we have Commissioner Tanya Bott. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us. I'm just going to do a quick look, make sure I didn't miss anybody. And now for today's meeting, who you're going to hear from is our Interim Director of Parking and Transportation, Jose Gonzalez. We also have our Interim Assistant City Manager, David Martinez, who's over the Parking Department as well as the Transportation Department. Just looking around the room, making sure I didn't miss anybody. And then joining Jose is Alberto Ventura and Jackie Caicedo, who are on the parking team. So at the end of their presentation, we're going to take public comment, answer any questions that you all may have. There's going to be a there's a microphone here. So if everyone could just make a queue there, and then what we'll try to do is go 1 in person, 1 online, and then I'm going to try to prioritize all of you that are in person. Again, this is the first meeting. There's going to be 4 meetings. Jose is going to walk us through it. And then after his presentation, I'll come back and then I'll try to facilitate the Q&A. So again, thank you for coming out this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Jose.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, everyone. As Kevin
Say it again.
Sorry? Sorry. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jose Gonzalez. I'm the city's Transportation and Mobility Director. I'm also the Interim Parking Director. Thank you all for joining us here today, as well as those that are joining us virtually. All right, so I'm going to be referring a lot to an acronym, RRPP, and that stands for Restricted Residential Parking Permit. So that's a mouthful. So that's why I'm referring to it as RRPP, but that's really the topic of this evening's meeting. So what we are beginning to explore, and this is the first meeting in that process, is the potential to implement a pilot program that would last about 1 year that would create restricted residential parking permit zones, or RRPPs, in the North Beach neighborhood. We currently have RRPPs in the South Beach neighborhood. We don't have any in Mid Beach, and we don't have any in North Beach per se. So that's why this is a pilot program, because we would be testing this out. So what is an RRPP and what does it do? In essence, what an RRPP does is to restrict parking in residential areas to prioritize the residents that live within those zones, and ultimately try to improve the quality of life. I think no one better than you all who live in North Beach know the challenges with parking on a daily basis. Sometimes in the evening, it is quite impossible to find parking, let alone something in close proximity to your homes. So really the goal and the intent of this program is to try to set aside parking, if you will, for the residents first. Okay, so the first time that this topic was discussed at our city commission was back in December. So about 7 months ago, and it was just a referral to a committee to discuss this concept in more detail. So that happened back in December of last year, and then on April 19th, the RRPP pilot program was discussed at our Finance and Economic Resiliency Committee. At that meeting, it received a favorable recommendation, and when that happens, when a committee makes a recommendation, it then goes to the city commission for ratification. But the next immediate step after the finance committee was to go to the transportation, parking, bicycle, pedestrians, facilities committee, which is also a mouthful. That committee discussed the pilot program. They felt that it had merit, that it was valuable, and that it would be beneficial to the residents. And so they made a motion favorably approving a pilot program. So then the next step was to go to the city commission to ratify the committee's recommendation for this one-year pilot program. And that happened just a couple weeks ago on June 26th, where the city commission adopted a resolution that accepted the recommendation of the finance committee to initiate the process, just to initiate the process for the creation of RRPP zones in North Beach. As part of that process, there needs to be community involvement, very engaging community involvement, which is why we're having a total of 4 meetings for the 4 different neighborhoods that we're envisioning to be part of the RRPP program. And then the next step will be on July 24th, as part of the city commission meeting, we'll hold a public hearing. So obviously open to the public, where all of you can attend either in person or virtually as well. And that will be on July 24th, will be the date that the city commission will deliberate on this item and make a decision whether to move forward with the one-year pilot program or not to move forward. So a lot of the decisions that are made in the parking world are done so through data. So we collected data, not just in the North Beach neighborhood. We have data actually for the entire city, but specifically for North Beach, for North Shore, which is the focus of this meeting. Here on this slide, you see 2 images. The image on the left shows what we call the utilization. What percent utilization do the on-street parking spaces and the parking lots have? And as you can see, there's a lot of red in the North Shore neighborhood. That basically shows that 85% of the time, parking spaces open to the public on the street or in parking lots are being utilized. So extremely heavy, probably amongst the heaviest parking usage in the entire city. And then the image on the right, again, shows North Shore. Just one nuance, the image on the left is the utilization during the weekdays. And this is a snapshot of a weekday at 7 p.m. The image on the right is a snapshot of utilization during a weekend at 9 p.m. at night. And the image on the right takes into account only the on-street parking. So again, you could see just an abundance of red, and that's obviously why it is so difficult and challenging to find parking in the North Shore neighborhood. So what are some of the challenges that we're trying to address as part of this pilot program? Challenges that I'm sure you all are very familiar with and see on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of new car share apps, not to mention any names, but there's one in particular which promotes our residential parking spaces, on-street parking spaces, and it's essentially for commercial use. There are also a lot of competition. We've got people coming from Miami, even from the mainland, even people from within our city that like to go to the beach in North Beach, and they're trying to look for the same spaces that are available. And, there's a very limited supply. Commercial vehicles using residential spaces, we see these all the time. Business patrons and employees utilizing residential spaces. And lastly, residential spaces used for storage. Again, all these are enforcement nightmares, as we call them, and it's part of the reason why we want to, or would like to embark on this pilot program. So one of the first things we did was try to identify boundaries, boundaries that made sense for each of the 4 neighborhoods. By the way, the four neighborhoods that we're looking at are North Shore, Normandy Isle, Biscayne Beach, and Town Center. We recently added or are considering Town Center neighborhood as well. So specifically for your neighborhood, for North Shore, these are the boundaries that we are preliminarily thinking of. On the south, it would be 71st Street, and we would include Parkview Island as well. On the north, 87th Terrace. On the east, Harding Avenue. On the west, Byron Avenue, Tatum Waterway, and Dickens Avenue. All new developments would be excluded from this pilot program, the thought being that new developments have or will have their own dedicated parking space on site. We're also not including on-metered parking, on-street metered parking spaces during the metered hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So during those hours, those metered parking spaces would remain metered, and then they would be available after 6 p.m. as part of the RRPP pilot program. And lastly, we're including parking lot 105, located at 8080 Tatum Waterway, which has about 12 non-metered parking spaces. For the Biscayne Beach neighborhood, I won't get into too much detail on this because we want to focus on North Shore neighborhood this evening, but these are the boundaries for Biscayne Beach neighborhood, and we'll have a separate standalone meeting just for that neighborhood as well. The third neighborhood that I mentioned is the Normandy Isle neighborhood. These are the boundaries, what it includes, what it excludes. There are several residential areas, in this neighborhood, single-family home areas in this neighborhood, which are being excluded for obvious reasons. And the fourth neighborhood that we are now considering is the Town Center neighborhood, and these are the boundaries for the Town Center neighborhood. Okay, so as I mentioned, some of the parameters for this pilot program would be that it would have a 1-year duration. It would be free of charge to residents, meaning no fee, no charge for a permit if you are a resident. Visitor permits would be available. They're currently can be purchased for $3 for a 24-hour period, and there's a maximum of 30 visitor passes that the city could issue per quarter. There would be a maximum of 2 RRPP permits per household, with additional permits being considered on a case-by-case basis. On-street parking adjacent to city parks, we have a few within the RRPP zones. Those would become RRPP zones, if you will, after park closing hours. Their parks obviously are open to everyone, whether you're a resident or non-resident. So we want to be inclusive, and at least during the hours that the parks are open, that it would be general use parking, and then after park closing hours, it would be dedicated to residents as part of this pilot program. And lastly, the residents with dedicated parking in their buildings on site would be excluded from the pilot program, with any exceptions requiring the approval of the parking director. We understand there are a lot of buildings in the area, old buildings, new buildings, each have their own little nuances. So that's why certain things will need to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. For the hours during which the pilot program would be in effect, those would be from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Monday through Friday, and then from 6 p.m. on Friday all the way to 7 a.m. on Monday. And all legal holidays would be restricted as well. Okay, with regard to enforcement during the pilot program, what we're envisioning is a 2-month educational and outreach period. The first 2 months of the pilot program, there's going to be just a lot of dissemination of information, of education about the program to residents, new and old. During that time, we will not be issuing any citations, but we will be issuing written warnings. And we will be documenting that because it's all part of the pilot program and key metrics that we want to follow to see how successful the pilot is. After that initial 2-month educational period, the city will begin to issue citations to people who violate and park illegally or where they're not supposed to. However, the city will not be towing, as this is a pilot project. And of course, there are laws that govern scofflaws, where if a person has multiple unpaid outstanding parking citations, there's a tow order that's placed by Miami-Dade County, which is outside of our control, in which case the vehicle, if it is cited, would need to be towed as well. So how can residents register? Every resident that wishes to park their vehicle within an RRPP zone must register under this program. And this slide shows the documentation that would need to be provided upon registering. We're offering registration both in person as well as virtual, which is quite convenient because you could do it from the comfort of your home or quite frankly from anywhere. For in-person registrations, we're requiring a completed application which is available online at www.miamibeachparking.com, a government-issued photo ID, proof of residency, such as a current, it's got to be within the last 30 days, a current bill, utility bill, gas bill, phone, etc., and a valid vehicle registration. Again, vehicle registrations that have outstanding parking citations will not be allowed to register in the program until those citations are addressed, are paid for. We're also offering virtual registration, as I mentioned, which is very convenient. You can email a completed application, proof of residency, and a valid vehicle registration to residential parking permits at miamibeachfl.gov. And a reminder from our IT department is to please do not email government-issued photo IDs for security purposes. Registrants can come in person to the customer service center that's located adjacent to City Hall at the 1755 Meridian Avenue building in South Beach, or at the North Beach satellite office just close by here. For the North Beach office, we do ask that you call in advance and make an appointment because the times will be limited and the space is very limited as well inside that office. Some additional parameters related to this pilot is that we're open to issuing temporary permits. Those are permits that would be valid for a 90-day period to residents who are in a transition of some sort, moving in or having their registration changed. So we're open to offering temporary permits. We're also open to dismissing the first citation that a person receives. As I mentioned, this is a new program, so a lot of people may be caught unawares. So we will be dismissing that very first citation. However, we do require that person to then register once they receive a citation, to then come in or remotely register for the program if they are a resident. And then we're also taking into consideration houses of worship and how to accommodate them. And so we're thinking of what we're calling a house of worship permit, which exists in another part of our city as well, to accommodate those religious institutions and meet the parking needs of their congregants. So there are benefits, there are perks, if you will, to joining residential parking permit program, in addition to the ones that I mentioned, and it's discounted parking. Basically, residents of our city, if they are registered, they pay less than everyone else. So, residents pay $1 an hour, and that could be paid through either the Park Mobile app or pay by phone. We have two different ways of paying meters throughout the city. There's also the pay stations, as you may know. We did want to call out the 46th Street lot because it's a bit of a unique situation. At that lot, there is a $6 flat rate for a 24-hour period available to residents, or a $1 an hour at the pay station for residents. And then, of course, our parking garages are $1 an hour rather than the regular rate, which is about twice or more. And there are no transaction fees through Park Mobile or the pay by phone, when paying through Park Mobile or pay by phone apps. And so this brings us to our last slide. This is your parking team. This is us here today. Myself, Jackie, and Albert. And our contact information is listed here. You can contact us at any time, call us at any time. And with that, the last slide. Just in terms of where we go from here, as I mentioned, there will be additional community meetings with each of the other 3 neighborhoods, Biscayne Beach, Normandy Isle, and Town Center, during the next week and during the 3rd week of July. And then the culminating with the public hearing on July 24th, which will be during a city commission meeting. And with that, we would be more than happy to take any questions from you all.
Okay, great. So like Jose said, we're gonna take questions. What we're gonna try to do is, if you're in person, I wanted us to do a queue here, so just line up behind this gentleman. What I stated earlier was, we're gonna do online, in person first, then online. We ask you if you could keep your questions and comments to 2 minutes. And again, I want to prioritize all of you that came in person. So again, one thing I want to ask is, anyone today's first meeting that you guys have come to? Or have we all been to first meeting? Thank you for coming. Good, I'm glad all of you, this is important enough that you guys came out. I know today is about North Shore specifically, but I know some of you live in other areas of North Beach in general. So if you live in an area that's not North Shore, you're welcome to ask any questions, make any comments, because like Jose went through the PowerPoint, it's all the same parameters. It's just going to be different boundaries and different zones. So if you made it out tonight and you have a question that's not for North Shore and specifically, please feel free to ask a question. If you could just tell us your name and ask it away.
Start that clock. Good evening, my name is Rabbi Elliot Perlson. I'm a rabbi at Temple Menorah. I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm going to talk quickly. I hope that I'm going to use up all those 2 minutes. One, in anticipation of this meeting, Tuesday, July 2nd, I drove up and down 75th through 74th Street on Carlisle, just by the synagogue. I think that the city would only enforce the existing rules about commercial parking. I passed, if you want to have pictures, 1 air conditioning repair truck, 1 painter truck, 1 plumber truck, 2 Ford pickups, both of them extended cabs, 2 white vans without any IDs. So just from 74th to 75th Street, there were 7 illegally parked commercial vehicles. In addition to that, I want to thank you for acknowledging the need of houses of worship, because the number of houses of worship that have increased in the Normandy area has increased from 4 to 9 in the last 15 years. Next, there's been a number of parking spaces that have been removed from public use, starting from 71st Street to 77th Street. And again, I just did this real quickly. Approximately 17 years ago, in an attempt to create traffic calming, this Dade County and the Florida Department of Transportation screwed up Dickens. They built out right in front of Pizza Fiore. We lost an entire lane. In addition to that, I believe the term is bulb outs. And if you count the number of bulbs out in the middle of the street From 71st Street to 77th Street, there are 15 parking spaces that have been removed from public usage for these green areas. There's only one problem. They never installed sprinklers or irrigation, so there's nothing green about them. There are places where people throw garbage. We've lost an additional 15, and that's only on Dickens from 71st Street to 77th. In addition to that, there's a lot of wasted space that we can use for parking. I'll just give you one example, and that's on 75th Street and Dickens in front of the two water towers. There is a 17-foot high fence behind it. The city of Miami Beach has wasted all that area and I haven't even looked there in 3-4 years, but last time I went to the effort to look behind there, there was at least 2 acres of used drainage and street improvement materials that are just sitting there wasting. I haven't looked at it in 3-4 years. There could be plenty of parking there. All you would have to do is move the existing fences. If that's a security fence, I don't know what it is for, and there'd be plenty of parking in places like that. I want to again thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity to address
Thank you,
you.
Reverend. Thank you so much, thank you. We'll do another, we'll try to do like 2 in person and 1 online. I know we have quite a few online, but I want to prioritize everybody in person.
Hi, my name is Steve Sexton. I'm really loud to begin with, so I don't need that much amplification. I'm the president of the Normandy Fountain Business Association and 25-year resident of North Beach. As my friend Daniel just pointed out, I don't even have a car. I gave it up 10 years ago because I couldn't find parking. I hope that this could work. My question is, what's the metric for understanding whether it is working or not? That can be a really nebulous thing. This pilot's successful if there's no towing and there's limited enforcement. How do we know it's actually creating additional parking spaces?
Okay, great. So what's the measure of success?
So even though it's a pilot and we won't be issuing citations, we are going to be tracking all the warnings. That is all going to be tracked during the first 2 months. After the first 2 months, when we start issuing citations, all that will be logged. So certainly a key metric is compliance. How many people are actually complying with this? Another key metric is just community feedback. This is a pilot program. As with every pilot program, community feedback is essential. If it's something that benefits the community, that the community likes, please let us know. We want to hear from you. If it's something that is not working for you for whatever reason, let us know as well. We'll try to make adjustments, which we can because it is a pilot program. And then ultimately, there's a decision that needs to be made at the end of that one year. But enforcement.
Will we be counting, will you be able to look at the street and see, are there additional spaces available at the different times that you've already mapped it out? To see if
Yes.
fewer people are parking and using the spaces?
Yes, there will be data that will be collected during the pilot program. These are all details that we're still, fleshing out, because it will take a little bit of time to start this pilot program, assuming that it's approved by the City Commission on July 24th.
All right, thank you guys, thank you for that.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, so now we'll go to our online person. And again, while we're switching to online, I just want to remind everybody, the public hearing is the actual day where any decision will be made, and that's going to be on July 24th. I only have one person online with their hand up, so I'm going to go to Erica Sommer. Hi there, Erica. Can you hear us?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So my question is, I work at Calvary Chapel, Miami Beach on 71st and Indian Creek. So we're a house of worship, so we are thankful that you are including houses of worship in this. We have a staff of 7 people, and half of which are residents, half of which are not residents. And around the corner, there are many other business owners that are just small mama and pops and who have staff. And there's no public parking besides that handful of meetings. And we're losing more and more parking. I only knew about this meeting today because last night at 9 o'clock at night, I found it on my windshield before leaving the church. So thankful I saw it. But my question is, what voice does a person who's not a resident, but they are a local business person in that area, what options do we have? What voice do we have? Where do we get to come into this particular consideration.
Thank you, and I think to get to your question in respect to, for our businesses and our business community, I'm gonna turn it over to Jose, so I guess the question's really, for those that aren't a resident but maybe work here, what I would say is your business definitely would need to advocate for parking, and maybe if you could walk us through some of the business aspects.
Sure, so again, even though this pilot program is intended to maximize parking availability for residents, we do understand that it may have an impact on businesses. What that impact will be, we don't know yet until we roll out the pilot, but it's certainly gonna be something that we're gonna be looking closely at, because this pilot is essentially only for residents. Typically, employees of businesses would have to just pay regular rates, regular parking at metered locations. Again, this RRPP would only be in effect during certain times of the day. So during the times of the day when the RRPP would not be in effect, there would be spaces available for employees. It's just that starting at 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, the spaces will be dedicated to residents.
Thank you, Jose. We're gonna go in person now, so Daniel, you state your full name for us?
Hi, Daniel Beatty, North Beach resident, thank you. First of all, acknowledging great job Parking Department does. Hundreds of thousands of people that visit the beach every weekend, so I'm sure it's very difficult to deal with transportation parking issues. But grew up in South Beach, so I certainly understand the introduction of residential parking districts. Back then, we did it because of the influence that the commercial districts were having on the residential. So we knew that there were visitors coming and taking up residential parking, and the parking district totally made sense. Ever since the city started building parking garages, and I know you know how many you've built in South Beach, but many, the residential parking districts continue to do well, and you can obviously find parking in South Beach pretty easily these days, no matter what day of time. So I think that's pretty telling. You mentioned on your map, we have a lot of metrics. You know, if we go back 15 years, the 33141 zip code was stated by the county as a zip code with the least amount of car ownership. So we knew North Beach housed the workers that worked in the hotels, they didn't own cars, so parking it was already an issue, but not a big issue. Then what we've seen with the change in rents is a change in demographics, change in ownership. So we did a parking study when I was on the North Beach Planning Committee, and it counted the number of units and the number of parking spaces, and we knew that as more people and residents own cars, that parking would continue to be a problem now. We really haven't built any parking garages in North Beach, so obviously the problem's not gonna fix itself. I think enforcing the rules, I know that in South Beach growing up, you know, if my car was parked there for 2 days, the parking department used to take a little yellow marker and mark my tire, and then come back, you know, a day later, if it was still there and it hadn't moved, they would have my car towed, or they give me a violation. I know in the past, commercial vehicles were also given tickets in North Beach for parking in residential areas. So those two things of cars being parked and vehicles that are commercial, that's just an enforcement issue. You don't have to create this problem to solve that issue. It can be done today. We all benefit, and I apologize for taking up more time, if I may, if I wouldn't mind. We all benefit from not having enforcement in North Beach. How many parking officers do you have in the south, and how many monitor the north? So, you know, just doing some more enforcement here, we're not gonna like it, but it's certainly gonna help us in being able to find parking. I don't know, you show the parking map of Biscayne Beach blowing up on the weekend after 9 p.m., but we know that's not beachgoers. So, you know, I'm still trying to understand how this program is going to help the existing amount of cars find parking beyond enforcing what we already have in the rules. I really don't want to see residents struggle with having to go through a bureaucratic process in order to house the same amount of vehicles that we're going to be housing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Come on up.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Gabriel. I'm a resident. I live here in North Beach. I'm actually in a building that has on-site parking. And that's an issue because many of the people in my building that I'm representing actually have more than one car. And so that's that happens everywhere, and as you can see, it's not considered or will be like discretionary. So it means that some people will have to reach out for a special permit, and we are 62 units, so we might need more than one special permit. I'm also a resident, parking as a resident registered already. I use the $1 rate for the entire place, but that doesn't change my situation if I have a second car, because I won't be able to park on the second one. I believe that we, as my other people said, that if we enforce better what's going on here in North Beach, it will solve the issue. I know the sponsors of this, this idea of this type of parking don't live here. And we live here. I know exactly that we don't need these type of rules to create like more issues for actual residents that come, at night. One last thing I want to say is that I'm in North Shore, and it's forbidden to have Airbnbs, okay? Airbnbs are allowed only on Harding Avenue, so I don't think we need these to fight, the Airbnbs or short term, because it's a residential area. So, you can enforce for commercial vehicles, for Airbnbs, for apps and everything else, but don't just make our life more difficult, please. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gabriel. So we're gonna go, okay, yes.
Just to clarify, as part of the pilot, each household can have up to 2 permits, up to 2 residential permits per household. It's beyond 2 where it's at the discretion, but up to 2, every household can have.
And Jose, could you clarify a comment that the lady said, just because a building has on-site parking, wouldn't prohibit or exclude them from accessing this program, correct?
Well,
That's where we would need to look at, the nuances, the parking nuances of that building, because there may be buildings that have on-site parking, but it may not be enough. That's something that we're gonna need to look at on a case-by-case basis.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, if a building so we're excluding new development, you stated, but in terms of if you have a building that lives here, you're still able to register for this on-street parking program, correct?
If the building has on-site parking available, sufficient on-site parking, then no. Those residents
Maybe we could
would,
discuss.
What is
considered
sufficient?
That's why we're here to talk.
yeah.
So, I'll tell you, please reach out, and I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Because this is a process, and this is a community hearing, and this is what we want to understand.
Just because we have a space there doesn't mean that we have to be excluded. We live here, we pay taxes here, so we should have.
And we shop here.
We should have the option. We should have the option.
And I think, and to the commissioner's point, and really this is part of the feedback we're looking for. There is other feedback that has already gotten taken into account with the town center. That wasn't a zone that was initially included. That's a zone that we are now looking to include, where we have that meeting coming up. So feedback like that, where at the moment, that was not something that's considered, but to the commissioner's point, the public hearing is on July 24th. So with this feedback, I think some of the things they're gonna wanna hear is, well, was that ever incorporated in the program? Why or why not? So that's good feedback. So thank you for sharing that. Before I go back to in-person, we're gonna do one person from online, because they've been waiting patiently. And then we're gonna go back to, again, if you're online, go ahead and raise your hand. I lost my timer here. All right, do you, phone number 8 ending in 9959, 8. You have 2 minutes?
Hello, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. So my name is Brandon Lloyd. I'm the aide to Commissioner David Suarez. I am also a resident of North Beach. So I kind of know firsthand the challenges we're facing in North Beach regarding the parking situation. I get home from work every day, circle around the block, can't find parking. It's a challenge for all of us who live in North Beach. And I think we need to realize the intent of this program is to prioritize North Beach parking for North Beach residents. It's really that simple. It's not a money-making scheme. There's no ulterior motives behind this. It's a quality of life issue. There was a Miami Herald article that recently came out quoting North Beach residents, not me, but other residents, saying, hey, I come home from work, I work in hospitality. By the way, I used to work in hospitality for many, many, many years, and we get home late at night, no parking. You're circling. And in the meanwhile, you have commercial uses that are taking up our parking spaces. In front of my building, we have people that park there, store their car there, walk away for days at a time, and you've never seen them in your life. So we're not saying that people shouldn't be able to park. To the contrary, we're saying, you know what? If you live in North Beach, you should get priority to park here. And we've done everything possible to try to accommodate the needs of every single group, to try to forgive citations, to make this program free, no towing. And there's a lot of misconceptions going around that really aren't fair. You know, we have people online saber-rattling, saying all kinds of stuff that just is not true. This is a pilot program, folks. You know what? After a year, if it doesn't work, we can go back to the drawing board. We can scrap it. We can, if the commissioners, if it's the will of the commission, they could make it a low price for the life of the program. I mean, it's a pilot program. It's up for debate after another year. We're going to see how it works. We're having 3 community meetings. We'll have a public meeting on July 24th. So we're taking everybody's input, into this, and we really want to make this something that works for everybody.
Thank you, Brendan. Thanks so much.
Can people say they're from the North Shore or from Normandy? Because this gentleman lives in Normandy, and so far only 2 people from the North Shore have spoken.
We just asked for their names, so we just want everybody's name.
Talking about problems that they have in the middle of
Yeah, what I said earlier, like if you're not in this neighborhood, still, I want everybody to. What neighborhood? If you want to, you're welcome to, but I'm not gonna force anybody. I just want their names, really. I want people to feel comfortable. All right, let's go.
David Ballard, and I live in North Shore, so.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank you all because directly across the street from me, I've had 2 commercial vehicles parked there for more than 6 months. They just obviously store the vehicles there because it's free, easy parking that has to be on the beach. I only have really 1 question and then a follow-up. I received a newsletter from Commissioner Suarez outlining this program. He also indicated that it would be one of the identification things beyond the residency, like your ID showing that you have a government issued ID for this address, was also a lease. Because if you are leasing in a place that includes water, sewage, electricity, and gas, and you're paying your phone directly, and it's not with an address, why, when you're showing the list of stuff that would qualify, you didn't show a lease? Why was that excluded?
So we're not excluding it. We'll certainly accept leases as well. So we'll go ahead and include that.
And my only follow-up is, I have a lot of friends and family that want to come up and visit, and they try to use the shuttle. The problem with using the shuttle is the app that the city had doesn't function properly, and many times the shuttles that they show, a shuttle will show up and it's not showing up on the app. So they're like, David, just screw it, I'm going to drive up there. So that's why, if that would work better, you'd have a lot less impact from people, because they'd be happy to take the free shuttle from south of Fifth, where my family lives, up here to come to visit without having to take their vehicle. So I know that's separate from you all, but just give that feedback to you all.
Well, not really. It actually falls under my bailiwick as well. We did transition from the old app to a new app called Transit.
I've used Transit also, and it does not function well either. There's many times a shuttle will show up, and it does not show up. So if you have to use Google, Google actually has it functions a little bit better when you're using that to show where the shuttle is. And that, so I'm just saying that as far as the functionality of that, it really prevents people from using it and preventing them from having to drive their vehicle elsewhere, because it says frustration. You're like, I've been waiting here, and then as I'm walking away, the shuttle shows up, and it's not even on the app. So just give you that feedback also.
Thank you for that. We'll look into that.
Thank you, sir. So we're gonna go next. If you can tell us your name and if you want to state what neighborhood.
Yes, hello, my name is Oliver, and I live here from North Beach. So I actually live on the 73rd, between Collins and Ocean Drive. I've been living here for a while, and I've been, you see that you're losing more and more spaces And we understand, like, you guys know in the 73rd, all this, yeah, all this beautification, which I think is good, but at the same time, it took all the parking that was available there.
Yes.
So right now, all of those people are trying to find
Yes.
more spaces. And we don't have a dedicated parking. So my question, because I'm trying to understand the markings on the maps that you guys are showing. For example, if I live in that area, 73 between Collins and Ocean Terrace, I should be able to get this program, right? To get into this parking program.
I believe
If it lives in a
if it's
building,
within the
again.
zone, if it's within the zone, yes. But if it's in a building that already has dedicated parking,
No, it doesn't have.
it doesn't good, so you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. What we need to take a close look at is the buildings that have dedicated parking, and, you know, we need to see how to deal with that situation.
Yeah.
But you should be fine.
I understand that. One question, is this parking permit is gonna be attached to the license plate of the car, or it's just the person is gonna put it in another car? How is this going to work?
No, it is tied to your license plate. When you register under this program, it will be tied to your license plate, unique to your license plate.
Okay, another quick question regarding the city parking. So this program for the residents of Miami Beach, so basically it says that we can park in any of the city parkings in Miami Beach. I will be a rate of $1 per hour, or?
That's correct.
So once.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the decal program that's
All right.
coming?
So next, we're going to an online caller, so I have Sharon, if you could say your full name and let us know what area, what neighborhood you live in.
Hi, my name is Sharon Weiss, and I live on 81st between Collins and Harding. So I'm not in the area that is going to be impacted as of yet, but my question is regarding whether or not homeowners in single-family homes could be allowed to block their driveways. So a few years ago, we had been working with Commissioner Ariola on this idea as a way to create like extra parking spots. So if you have a driveway that holds one car, but you have two cars, you could park your own driveway. Or if you have a visitor, coming and they can't find parking, they can block your driveway, obviously with your permission. And, Commissioner Ariola, said, thanks, not interested, moving on. And, given the situation with parking in North Beach, would that be something that the commission would be open to considering?
Thank you, Ms. Weiss. So the question is, single-family homes, if they have a parking space in front of it, can they block their driveway and essentially make their own parking
Answer is
space?
yes.
So the answer is
Your own
yes.
property, yes.
So if it's your own property, it's a single-family home, you could park in front of your driveway on street, block your driveway, create an extra space for your car only. So thank you for bringing up that question. I'm gonna go in person. If you could say your name and what neighborhood?
Yes, my name is Elizabeth James, and I do live on the North Shore, and this is a follow-up to the gentleman about the lease. So, we have the lease, and is there a term, or, I believe we had one, the first 48 months we lived here, but now the rental company, which is Harding Investments, just said, you've been here so long, we'll go month to month, 30 days. I mean, we have a paper lease, but can you just speak to terms for renters?
That would be.
Just bring, if it's not 30 days, just bring in,
So we have our assistant director of finance. His team actually is the one that's gonna be issuing the permit. So Manny, if you could talk to maybe a proof that they could bring in for renters.
Sure. Manny Marcus, I'm Assistant Director of Finance, and I help the parking department with the residential parking program. And also was a 15-year resident of North Shore, has been parking Island at Parking Point. We accept forms of ID, driver's license, passports, registration of a vehicle, lease. The lease, it's either a lease, a warranty deed, a cable bill, a telephone bill. It's just proof that you live in the area. It doesn't necessarily need to be a lease. It could be any form of bill. Again, cable, telephone, internet, gas,
Bank statement.
insurance bill, something that just shows that you live in this area.
Thank you so much, Manny.
Thank you.
Do you have another question?
Yes,
Yeah.
briefly, if you could put up an email address where if we get
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put that back up, and then also, if you've got the flyer, that takes you to the website that has contact, but I'll put that at the end. Next up.
Hi, I'm Robert Mercado. I live here in North Beach at Parkview Point condominium. Moved here in 2000 from New York. Don't regret it. I love it here. Better politics, better way of life here. Here's the thing I'm gonna say. Unfortunately, there's been some changes here that have affected us. Thank you to the rabbi who mentioned the situation we have going down the street here on between 76th and 71st Street. It's terrible. You know, I was there, I was stuck once, and there was a woman in a walker that I saw on 76, she passed me, she was already by 73rd. I mean, it was unbelievable. So, why? Because they got rid of that extra lane there right in front of Pizza Fiore. It killed us, okay? Also, the flyover from 63rd that we used to have was great because it was always flowing, always flowing. Now, regarding the parking situation, I don't know if you boys and girls have seen outside here, we have a 25-story building here. There's gonna be 4 more coming, or 3 more coming. And those are gonna be residents, and they're gonna take up a lot more parking spots. You know, here's the thing, I see we have a parking structure here on 67th Street not being used at all. Did you notice that? Right on 67th and Indian Creek, not being used at all. Another thing, right by Temple Menorah, that street right by your synagogue and the hall, the parking is angled, so it gives a lot more parking. Right on this street, you guys did something great here. You guys replaced 7 parking spots with angled parking, and now there's 20 parking spots. There's space to do more of those angled parking spots, there is. Because we have a lot of one-way streets where we can do that, but even though where he is, that's a 2-way street. So we have to find out ways to do more of that, because we have the space, we have the ability. You know, I live on Parkview Point, I see the traffic going in and out of that little island. I think there's space in that island to do that same type of angled parking. I think we should consider that. Okay?
Thank you.
Under 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So right before I go to you, I'm gonna go to somebody online, and then this is, screen name is Parkview, I believe that's Omar, if you can say your full name for us, what neighborhood you live in?
Hi, this is Omar Jimenez from the Parkview Island Sustainable Association. We're really grateful that Parkview has been included in this pilot program. And we actually conducted our own resident parking survey through our newsletter, and the results overwhelmingly showed our need for a residential parking program like this on Parkview. It's from insufficient parking, resident parking spaces. So we welcome this well-structured program that has the ability to change in the 1 year that the pilot will be running. One thing is that we wish the morning hours would be extended to at least 8 a.m. 7 a.m. is a bit early for some residents. We also agree with the comments made by the rabbi from Temple Menorah regarding the public works and sanitation yard located on 75th and Dickens Avenue. There will be so many benefits to the entire community if the city were to consider moving this entire public works sanitation yard from this area in the heart of our community on the banks of the most polluted Parkview Canal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. We appreciate your comments. So now we're gonna go back to in-person. If you could just say your name and what area you live in.
Patrick Reinhardt, I live on 85th Street. You know, I have one of the townhouses over there, and I've been there a long time, and always I find somebody blocking my driveway, you know? And when I call for help, they say they can't do nothing. They can't tow the car that's blocking my driveway. Here just recently, there was a car in my yard. I called the police department. Say we can't do nothing. Can't do nothing. Somebody parks their car in my yard, you can't do nothing? I mean, those are some of the things we're up against, you know, people. But now you did make that lot over there where the dump used to be back in the day. So I see that that should relieve a lot of stress if you don't mind walking, you know. But, you know, Miami Beach was a tourist town for years. Parking was never an issue. and now it's not. Now there's more residents, full-time residents than ever, and Miami Beach is a 24/7 place now, For me, I have a yard, so I can pull my vehicle in my yard if the street parking is taken out. But, I would like to be able to, if somebody's blocking my driveway, have that addressed, I think that should be, why should we have stress, over something that's clearly a violation? At least, maybe not tow the car for the first time, but put a ticket in, Thank you.
Thank you so much. You want to speak to that?
I just want to apologize for the inconvenience. Certainly, it's a violation and enforceable. So I'm not sure who provided that information that it's not enforceable. It's against Florida law and it is. So,
That's what I thought.
no, it is.
I'll give you my card and after we'll connect. I'm gonna give you my card, so that way we could.
Thank you.
We're gonna go also in person and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 in person, right? All 3, yeah, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna focus on in person and we'll come back to online after they all speak.
Okay, my name is Jai Koch. I live in Biscayne Point, so I am not here, for selfish reasons. I have parking, but I'm a resident and I do like to support the local businesses. And I had heard other comments like this is going to impact my ability to support the local businesses in the area that do not have parking. I will be there after hours when the parking would be for residential only, and I am a resident, so I find it offensive, as maybe some other residents have, just because we have parking that we shouldn't be allowed to utilize parking in the business district that you're thinking of including town center. But I see the common theme here is the commercial vehicles, and I do agree with a lot of the speakers that it is an enforcement issue. And I don't think that residents should be pitted against other residents to fight for spots that they're all should be entitled to because, where the building that they live in has some parking, or they have 3 cars because they have a family of 4. I don't think this is the solution. I think that the city of Miami Beach, which I have called home since 1993, and I have lived in South Beach, and I agree with Daniel Vicci, and I agree with Rabbi Perlson, that a lot of the things maybe start with good intentions, but they never come to fruition. Like, yes, where are the trees so that we can encourage people to actually walk? The city can be walkable if you had actually real trees. We don't want palm trees. I know you like palm trees on 41st, but we need real trees here. So that's an issue. I think the issue is not, this is a Band-Aid and it's not a solution that is gonna benefit all the residents of North Beach. I think the issue is enforcement, shade trees to make it walkable and to fulfill the promises that were made to the residents. I've lived here for like 27 years. And I've seen everything that we're all talking about, and we're waiting for these things to come, and they're not. And we need garages. What about the garage that was supposed to be where the pool, which the pool is supposedly not happening now? That parking lot in front of Manolo's has been promised to be a garage. So I don't think you should take away street parking for the residents that are here until you provide other solutions as garages. And we don't have tourists coming here, so the South Beach situation is not applicable here. People here are residents and people supporting businesses. And just one more thing about the commercial vehicles. Some of these people are actually servicing our homes, our ACs, so you can't say every commercial vehicle that's parked is illegally parked. Like if I call an AC guy, he's gonna come and he's gonna need to bring his van. So that's what I wanted to say. And like I said, I have parking. I'm not doing this for selfish reasons, but I don't think it's fair and I don't think it's right and I don't think it was well thought out. And I do think it's just a way to maybe look like something is meant to be a solution, but it really isn't gonna be a solution. And you say it's a pilot, but I feel like in a year's time, it's just gonna be rammed down our throats, whether we like it or not. I'm sorry, because that's what I've seen in my 27 years of living here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So next up, we're going to Kim. Will you state your full name for us?
Yes, hello. My name is Kimberly Kaiser. I'm a resident of the north end of the beach around the Stillwater Park. I have called out the city several times. I've even did a walk around with you, sir, about 7 years ago. When they dug up the streets around the Stillwater Park, about park. Policies are fine, but they're not laws. So when we're building something up in our community, we need to have compliance from the entire neighborhood. Because once people become complacent, then it's not gonna work. I, on the other hand, I've had my cars towed numerous times because we have a plethora of homes that are within apartments, townhomes, apartments, family homes, million-dollar homes. And we have people, and I'm sad to say, that they have their own parking where they can fit 4 cars, even a double-car garage. But they will, on purpose, pull their vehicles out and park on the street so that residents who don't have parking, they're looking for parking. I've even had to get out of my car and just ask the gentleman, sir, you live in this home here, you have a boat. I live in a townhouse. You have a garage, a double garage with a kind of curved driveway. You can fit like 5 cars. So can you move your car onto your property so people who don't have that issue, can we park here? He says no. They say no. I've had my cars towed, and that's ridiculous because this is something that's ongoing. So you can paint the pretty picture of the pilot program. But if people in the neighborhood are not complying and they're not complacent with it, it's just a brush on the shoulder. They're gonna ignore it because I see it all the time. And you have to have proper signage. Nobody drives around the neighborhood with parking statutes in their car. If you have the correct signage that are painted on the ground, then people will be able to legibly understand, hey, this yellow means you can't park here. The handicap signs mean you can't park here or you get towed. It's completely unnecessary. So in order with the pilot program, you have to have the people that's in the city, that need to come out and either remove the signage. You have buses. We don't have the 30-foot buses from Dade County that comes on Hawthorne anymore. You have the little small shuttle buses. So when I ask, you have the long drive, you have the long open pavement where I've learned you can't park, 10 feet in front of a bus sign? So if we don't have the 30-foot buses, then you can alleviate that by making more parking spaces and come back and recreate the signage so people can understand where they are supposed to park versus where they're not supposed to park. And that will help people a lot because you're getting cars towed, not just from the improper signages that are not up and not posted, but from people who don't want to share the road. When they have homes with liable parking on their own property, they would like to be mean and hateful and park on the street, and then we don't have parking, and that's cruel. So something needs to be done about that as well.
Thank you so much, Kim. Ariana?
Ariana Rewan, Nicoletia. I think we've heard so many great ideas here, and I really think that they should be exhausted before imposing this onerous system on residents. We all know that 1-year pilot is not a pilot. My question, how much the signs in every block are gonna cost? They're gonna cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, so this is a costly program on the part of the city. So you're going to do this with data from 2019, because that data that we use, as we know, is pretty old, so we should have up-to-date data, and without having exhausted so many possibilities. One way is like the north-south streets, like Myers, Carlisle, they could be one way, and then we will have angle parking. You mentioned the Turo application. I happen to be the person who reported that, and code enforcement came within 24 hours. Problem solved. The solution was not resident parking. The solution, as many people have said, is enforcement. Commercial vehicles. Unfortunately, we have lots of working class people and that they work fixing things. So many of the commercial vehicles are theirs, right? A garage, I encourage you to go for the 72nd Street garage without the pool on the roof, put the pool on the bottom as where it should be. And so people with commercial vehicles they are the ones that they should be paying because they are making money with these vehicles and then leave them in a garage, free spaces. So there's lots of possibilities to increase parking. And I think that they should be explored before imposing fee. And then one last question, which is not mine, is of a colleague that is probably on the Zoom, and she messaged me about that. She lives on the Crespi Hawthorne Island, and she said something that I think is very appropriate. How are these zones zoned? Because if you live on Crespi Boulevard and you want to come visit me on Byron, and you happen to be old or have a broken foot or just have 3 boxes, how are you gonna come? You can't come, and it's the same neighborhood, we're a bridge away, right? Or she that lives in, she lives in Biscayne Beach, she has parking, but how about if she wants to come visit me? How about if she wants to go to Normandy or something? We're only North Beach, and now we can't go beyond 2 blocks. So another issue is that I don't think you have thought this enough, your parking chief now, right? Because it's unclear how you're setting these zones, and you have a plethora of solutions that you haven't looked at. And so I feel that you need to explore these solutions before pushing this down, down our throats. That's all.
Thank you, Ariana. Some good comments that we're gonna look into. Couple of points that I want to make just to clarify the data. The data that we're using is 2024 data. We updated the parking study for the entire city, and it is based on 2024 data. And with regard to the boundaries, so the boundaries are based on the neighborhoods. We know what the neighborhoods are. Those are the boundaries. Now, the boundaries can always be changed. Zones, we preliminarily identified 4 zones. There could be 3, there could be 2, there could be 1 huge zone that has no boundaries. And to your point, it could be 1 big North Beach zone. So we are going to be looking into and exploring that as well.
Are you going to get it done in 2 weeks?
Well, we're going to be doing a lot in the next 2 weeks, but again, as part of a pilot, and it will take time to implement this pilot. It's not going to be from one day that it's approved, the next day it's in effect. So there's time to work on some of these details.
So, yep. If you can take
Move on the building at 80th and Abbott. And, well, it's a little convoluted. Some of my questions, some of the things you said answered some questions. Most of the people in the building don't live here. They live in New York. I'm president of the association because I live here. I have an apartment there, but I don't live there. I live on Normandy Island, which is easy because I have a house. I have, your car goes in your garage. Your car goes in your swale, or it goes into your parking. So now, if you're going from, I would imagine that I could get a permit then for North Beach, for 80th and Abbott also?
If you have 2 residences and there's 2 different addresses,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, and what about all the people that are from New York? They could get them when they're here, permits?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you, because I have to tell them now. Well, they're all waiting.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to go online. I see we have Raul S. If you could state your full name for us and what area you live in. Thank you. Raul?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So yeah, Raul Santiago, I live in 84th, and I was one of the residents that was also affected by this neighbor that was had his cars in Truro. And I want to thank the commissioners, especially Alex Fernandez, for taking care of the issue. And like Ariana said, it was taken care of really quickly. And for the feedback that I've heard from everyone that's there and everyone that is on the Zoom is that this is mostly an enforcement issue. We have heard people talking about their garages being blocked, about the streets not painted correctly. I'm just curious of why we haven't done any further enforcement, and why is our solution further taxing residents of North Beach? We don't need more taxes. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna turn over to Jose if you wanna touch on enforcement in North Beach today.
Good evening, everyone. Alberto Ventura, Assistant Parking Director. And that's one of the reasons that we would like to start this residential program so that we can have residents register their vehicles, because those vehicles, just because they're sitting there, doesn't mean it doesn't belong to a resident. So at the end of the day, if we do enforce that vehicle, we're enforcing a resident. When we have information where we, in the South Beach area, when we see a vehicle that's abandoned, when we run the plate and we see that it's a resident, we call that resident, we ask that resident to move that vehicle. If it's not working, we ask them they either need to get it fixed or it can be on the street because it's not functional. So that's one of the reasons that residential programs work, because we also have that information of who the vehicle belongs to.
What's gonna happen to that old permit we had?
The old permit that you had? Well, today you don't have a permit in North Beach.
I'm talking about the guy from the city of Miami Beach.
Sorry, what was that?
The permit we got from city of Miami Beach, which you register our vehicle.
If you registered for the online, so separately, there's a, and you get the $1 an hour parking. So the question was, what happens if you already registered for the resident parking?
What happened to that permit?
Well, that's not a permit, that's like a discount. So if you register, if you're already registered, you're gonna keep it. You just-
My vehicle in front of my building, I'm living there. Police come, the parkman come, they check my tag, they
Yeah.
know I have a permit.
Okay.
They don't give me a ticket.
We'll,
What's gonna happen to that?
we'll talk to you after, so I need to know where you live and then. we'll
In
figure it out.
Normandy,
You're in Normandy? Okay, yeah, you probably have a discount, but we'll talk after. I'm gonna go to Commissioner David Suarez, you're on Zoom, Commissioner, and then I'm gonna go in person. Commissioner, you got your hand up?
Hi, can you hear me, Kevin? Thank you all. I just want to let you know I'm listening to every comment, every concern, every suggestion. I want to reiterate what I think Brandon said, that this intent is for resident parking. This is a priority for residents. You know, I've knocked on thousands of doors in North Beach, and one of the biggest concerns, probably the biggest concern in North Beach, aside from overdevelopment, is parking. And one of the number one issues that I've heard was that people just leave their car here for forever, almost as a storage. And I'm driving around blocks and blocks. I have to drive half a mile away to find parking. And that's not right. And that's a quality of life issue. And some of the points that were raised, I believe by Ariana, you know, she said she called into the Turo and it was resolved 48 hours later. It shouldn't be incumbent upon residents to be the enforcement, okay? It really should be the staff and city that protects residential parking. You know, you guys, you're not gonna, at the end of your shift, you don't wanna drive 3 hours and have to look for parking and then call the city because you found a guy renting it on Turo. That's our responsibility. Another point is there's going to be a lot of high rises that are going to go up in North Beach. And these people are going to have second and third cars. They're going to 100% take advantage of the free parking there. And this program is designed to help that, to make sure that that does not happen. I know there's been talk about garages for North Beach. I'm totally in favor of that, but that's going to take 4 to 5 years. I don't think we have 4 to 5 years to wait to build garages for a problem that's only going to get worse probably by the end of next year. And someone brought up a comment that, you know, if I call an AC or a plumber to come service, well, actually, you know, the residential parking, that you get 2 hours free where any commercial vehicle, actually any vehicle can come park and service during the non-enforcement hours. So they're going to be able to park and service your homes, I believe between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., or I believe 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. So, but at the end of the day, look, you know, this is a pilot program. Everywhere in Miami Beach that is a resident zone has parking for residents only. And so I think it's a step in the right direction. We're going to see how this pilot program works. And, you know, I'll be the first to admit it. If this was a bad move, I'll be the first to admit it. But I believe that this will alleviate a lot of concerns that everyone has about parking, and we'll let the pilot program speak for itself at the end of the year. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. We have a gentleman in person.
Yes.
If you could just state your full name and.
Franco Sanchez, 30-year resident. I've seen a lot of programs come and go over the years, and I've seen all these creative ideas, and they always seem overly complicated and just too much, and not to have an apparatus in place that could actually make it work. Why does it have to be so complicated? Why can't it be what it is and just correct it? The reality is you have renters, you have real retailers, and then you have mortgage holders or people that, you know, pay property taxes and so on. We all three live here, work here, our lives are here. We have some common interests, but we also have different interests, all right? It seems to me that you're spending all this money, resource, and time on something that can be just a very simple solution. And the solution is that accountability, okay? And if you have accountability, you can stay on top of things. Renters, maybe they have a yellow decal on their car. Mortgage holders or owners, blue. Retailers, green. Hey, that's it. The rest of it, what for? You know what I mean? Okay, you, after 6 o'clock or whatever it is, okay, those people that want to pay for parking that are here, they come to visit, the tourists, let them pay their tolls. But why do people that live here, work here, struggle to pay rents, struggle with insurances, HOA fees, mortgages, property taxes going through the roof? This is a working class community, okay, where everybody is in the same boat. Okay, we have that common interest. You guys come here and you bring upon layers and layers and layers of complications unnecessarily. Nobody needs this, we need less, okay? But we need more accountability. We have cars that are parked here for months at a time without license plates, commercial vehicles all over the place. In Parkview Island, we got trucks everywhere, okay? You're not stepping up as it is. Okay, how are you going to keep up with this when you can't keep up what's on your plate now? Okay, you're going to have to spend more money, create tax revenue. Okay, look around. Okay, these are your constituents. Okay, these are the people that matter. The tourists that come and go, they don't care. Okay, you want to charge them $3 or $4 an hour to park, you know, during business hours? Great, do it. But why are these people having to pay more for something when they're already paying out through the nose? Okay, property taxes go up, all our expenses have gone up. My HOA's tripled in the last 3 years. Okay, our insurances, who knows where we're gonna be next year? All these buildings that are 30 and 40 years old that don't have new roofs, they're probably gonna lose their insurances. Everybody, okay, thousands of people are leaving this area, okay, because they can't live here anymore. And they are the working class right now. They work the hotels, the restaurants, the cafes, okay? What are you gonna do, bust them in from Homestead? Okay, I mean, really, okay? You're not protecting us, okay? And what you're proposing is nonsense. It is, because it's too much or too little, too big a headache, and you don't have an apparatus to enforce it or bring it in place. Because if you did, we wouldn't have the mess we have now. Okay, you're not taking, it's like a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. You've got a massive parking lot. You've been talking about adding parking spaces there and build up. We don't need a damn pool. You live a block from the beach. Why do you want a pool? Okay, give me the parking spaces. Give me 3, 4 floors of parking. Do it half at a time if you have to. But put the 4 freaking floors of parking there and get it over with. By the time those other 3 or 4 buildings come in line, it's going to be a disaster. When they finish the redevelopment, the $2 billion program, okay, what's going to happen? We're going to be inundated with tourists. What? You're not going to be able to account. You're not going to be able to have those people be here because you're not going to have the parking. Okay? It's nonsense. It just is, sir. okay?
Yeah, we
Every
hear
time you guys come up with idea, you come up with more complications and less solutions. And more taxes and more this and more that, but less solutions. Okay, after 30 years of being here, I have a little bit of experience because
We
I've
appreciate
seen
that.
it.
No,
I've lived
thank
it.
you. Thank you for
Okay?
coming today and sharing with us.
I would love to see you at least, out of everybody that's spoken here, answer at least one question, because you have yet. Okay, you have yet.
Yeah, no, so
Okay.
I think Commissioner Magazine, you want to respond?
Thank you for that. Frank, thank you for those comments, and thank you everybody for the comments. Who are you? My name is Joseph Magazine. I'm a commissioner here in Miami Beach. Now we know. Thank you, Rabbi. Like has been said, we are listening to this near and dear. Okay, this is a pilot, and we are taking the feedback from this community session. That's why we're out here in the evening. You have the mayor here, you have city staff here, you have myself. We want to get this right. And to address Frank's comments, I appreciate that very much. You're here for 30 years, you know the area, and when you talk about simplification, that's why I got Indigo, because I hate the government bureaucratic process, right? And the intent of this, and what I am willing to work with you on, and anybody else, is to make this as simple and seamless as possible, right? We want to protect our residents because the parking right now is being abused by outsiders, okay? And that's why you can't have these spots. In North Bay Village, 2,500 new residential units are coming online in the next few years. Where do you think these people are going to come and park and go to the beach? In these residential areas, right? So we are protecting the people that live here.
But you're not.
I'm
You
sorry.
heard the people, that's what they
I'm
want.
sorry.
They send you.
I'm sorry,
emails.
I'll get, you
No,
had your 2
but you're
minutes.
saying things that are just not
Where-
true.
where is
Who are
the
you
building
protecting?
department?
Who are you
Where is the
protecting?
Where is the zoning?
Huh?
Where is the zoning? Where is the building
So,
department?
Rick,
Where is the building? Maybe we have to try to
okay, so if I could.
You know what we need are solutions and not
We
politics.
want a
Okay, this
solution.
is what's going on here.
Okay.
You guys are stroking each other's egos at the expense of taxpayers, mortgage holders, renters.
Frank, I'm up
businesses.
here in front
Okay,
listening.
that's right, and you're not holding up your own,
No,
sir.
but guys,
Because all I see.
I wanna thank Joe for
Yes.
being here and being present and being in person. I think it's
Yeah.
important to know and recognize that he is here to face us. I think we should treat him with some respect and talk nice.
I am here just to help you. You are who I represent. That's it. I am looking to improve your lives. I get it, Frank.
We voted for you.
Yes,
We voted
yes,
for you.
and I am here
But
to.
Albany, why we don't make it something reasonable? We are 21st century.
Yeah.
Why, maybe we should ask China to come solve our problem.
I think we want to go in the opposite direction.
I mean, why we don't put
Right. But sir, if I could, if I could,
Why
sir.
we don't put a parking garage? We
I
have money.
think,
We have money.
do you know how long a parking garage takes? 4 to 5 years. So that,
Last 50 years, I'm leaving it around.
and I'm sorry.
Guys, give him a chance. Keep in mind that they just got elected back in November, I believe it was.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
I appreciate that they're here so soon after being elected. So,
Okay.
but
Yes, so, and in terms of taxing, I understand. I have a working class family myself. Up until this last year, I was a renter my entire life, right? My daughter's mother works in the service industry in Miami Beach. I am very sensitive to the complexities in our different neighborhoods. This program, for the first year, has no cost whatsoever. No cost whatsoever. You will not be charged $1. Whatever other information is out there is false. I'm telling you, looking you all in your eyes, you will not be charged $1. The years after will be resident rates. I believe it's $29 for the entire year.
$56.
$56 for the entire year. It is not.
That's
a different zone.
It's a different zone.
There's different.
Different prices for different zones. Ultimately, the
That's
price
exactly-
will be set by the city commission.
Yeah. So we will look to make this as cost effective as possible. This is not a revenue raising opportunity. Revenue, getting revenue from this is a drop in the bucket of the city. That is not why we're doing this, right? We wouldn't be doing a pilot program for free for the first year. Okay, this is not about raising revenue. We have plenty of other ways to do so. This is about protecting you as the residents. This is about providing parking. when all of you go out and start working all day, and you come home at 6 p.m. at night, and people are sitting there abusing your parking that don't live here, this is protecting you all. You all. This comes down to 30 cents per day, and we're trying to help improve your lives to improve parking. I will work with every single one of you with your concerns to make this as efficient and best for you as possible. I get no benefit out of this, right? It's not as if I have some agenda and I'm trying to make your lives difficult. My entire premise here, Frank, is to make you and everybody else's lives that I was elected to represent better. And I will work and take into your account your comments and make sure that we get this right. That's why the first year is a pilot program. But this isn't trying to shove things down anybody's throats. This isn't trying to raise money off of the back of our working class residents.
It's been decided already. And the second year, you have the tow trucks coming around. Why are you gonna say
Okay, there is a lot of misinformation. There will be no towing during this pilot program. There will not be a single tow truck in North Beach going after these pilot programs for the first year.
There will be.
Right.
Just as there is, but that's part of the enforcement. As long as you're registered, and we will make this registration as seamless as possible. I will come up here to North Beach in person to help residents. I was up here handing out sandbags after the storm. I will come up here and help everybody that needs to register. I will champion that out of my office and make this as seamless as possible. And once you are registered, you don't have to worry about tow trucks. These are scare tactics. You pay $50 per year to have better residential parking in your own neighborhoods. Not to mention, once you're registered for that program, the $4 you have to pay at city meters across the entire city, you now get for $1. That cost savings could be recognized in several weeks, right? So me and my colleagues, we pledge, if this isn't making your lives better, you come to us and we will abandon it, but I will do everything in my power to make sure this program is implemented as seamless as possible. Nobody is taken advantage of. There's nothing predatory about this, and the sole intent is to make all of your lives better. I welcome you to reach out to my office, not my office, myself, because I'll talk to you directly. Reach out to me directly, and we will work on this together. Thank you all.
Just a quick update, so we have 2 more people in line. Again, we want to prioritize those that are in person. And we're gonna have a hard stop at 8, so I think we have enough time for each of you. Jose did want me to remind you all that renters in the area are also part of the program. So if you're a renter, you're able to register for the program as well. And then something my mentor told me once upon a time was, thank you all for being respectful. This is a tough topic, but for the most part, we've all been really respectful tonight, so I just want to thank you. If you could say your name and what neighborhood you live in?
My name is Robert, and I live on 73rd Street between Byron and the next street over. Right, exactly. Carlisle, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, I am very pro this program. And I just want to speak that, because I know that there's been a lot of opposition. The opposition that we need to listen to, I think my main concern is that I've lived off and on in Miami Beach since '94. And when I lived here 10 years ago, or actually 20 years ago, I lived in North Beach and I would drive to South Beach to work in a restaurant. And you already had residential parking there. You know how I was able to drive down there and actually work? Because you had parking outside of residential areas that I could actually park my car in. That's not available up in North Beach right now for like the people that are working in retail or working in restaurants and coming in to work at their jobs. I don't know where they're gonna park. I was able to park because you had parking. That being said though, living as a resident, I had people from the North Beach Tennis Center parking in my neighborhood. I have beachgoers, and I have people from the Van Shell Park. So I am very happy that you're doing this program so that I could really find a parking spot. And I'm concerned about the people that work in retail and restaurants trying to find parking. And I think it's a great idea to have one big zone so that people that live within the area can drive and visit one another.
Thank you so much. So before we go, I'm just gonna, this person had their hand up for quite a while. Desi, if you could say your full name for us. Hi, Desi, you gotta unmute. And there you go.
Hello.
Hi there, if you could say your full name for us.
Hi, yeah, my name is Desi Camacho. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, yeah, I have a question, and I think part of the solution would be, I mean, I've been listening to you while driving and all of that, and I think it's building more building garages. Like we don't have, I don't think we ever have, not even one in this area, like South Beach has. South Beach has many building garages, and we don't have any that I know of. And that's one question. And the other question is, you guys are claiming that this is to benefit the residents here, which I'm a resident, I've been a resident for many years. But then yet, if you are in one of these buildings, which many only have one parking space because we are, most of them are old buildings, and then we are excluded. You are excluding almost all the residents that have like one dedicated parking to the, and you are excluding it from the program. And most of the people here need at least 2 parking spaces, especially for apartments that have 2 bedrooms. And you are excluding like that, most of these people, then myself included, because I have one dedicated parking space, but I may need 2 or more. So that's the other question I have about the program. And the third will be the cost for the city. I think it'd be costly. I don't know. You guys can answer those questions.
Great, thank you, Desi. So I'll just turn to Jose. The first question, or one of the questions, was in respect to the additional cars you may have, which we had covered earlier. That's something that was not included, Desi, originally, but part of the public outreach today was that something we could look into, and that's something that can be added. It's not going to be added immediately, but it can be added. So, and then overall cost to the city. I don't know if you guys have those figures at this time. So that's not something we have now, but if you, on the website, if you contact us and you have specific questions about the decals or whatnot, we could help you with that. I'm gonna go to in person.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I live on 84th and Harding. My partner and I share one car. We are renters. I feel like we're the target demographic for this program. I just want to say thank you. We've had a really hard time parking since we moved here. We couldn't park on our street one night after we came home from work. Had to park on a main drag, which shall not be named, and our car was totaled overnight by a car driving by while we were parked. My partner is a first responder. He has really unreasonable, frankly, hours. And when he has to come home at night and drive around for hours to find the spot, it's just really off-putting to be in this city. So there have been a lot of solutions proposed tonight. I don't have enough information to poo-poo them, but I do want to say thank you for this one, because I think it's a really definitive, additive thing that we are talking about here. So thank you for taking the time to be here and representing constituents like us.
Thank you so much, and again, thank you to the audience that showed up this evening. Our last person, usually when I say that, a few more jump up, so this will be our last person. Marvin Sussman, if you could just state your full name for us and maybe where you live. Raul, you spoke earlier, so we're just gonna go to Marvin. Marvin, as you get unmuted there, I'm gonna remind everybody, if you enjoyed it tonight, we're gonna do it 4 more times. So you can join us again on Thursday. Even if it's not your neighborhood, you can still come out. Those of you that do live in the Biscayne Beach, Normandy, Isle Town Center, you are gonna get a letter in the mail. And again, it's welcoming you. You're welcome to come to other meetings that are not your neighborhood. The big day is July 24th. That's when the city commission is gonna hear this item. That's when you want to reach out, to elected officials or whatnot and share your ideas. You could always email our team and we'll make sure to share those comments. So Marvin, were you able to unmute?
Yes, I did.
Hey there.
I live in Pinecrest, but I own a home on Bayside Lane. And Bayside Lane is a particular problem. There are currently 8 homes on the block. There are 2 lots that are probably going to become building sites. And our house is undergoing a project where we'll be doing more construction. And there's really no place for construction trucks or contractors to park on Bayside Lane. And how are you going to address that? I mean, Bayside Lane is a very unique street, but there's very little parking. It's limited to one side of the street. There's a turnaround, not even at the end of the street. There's an extension from the turnaround that looks like a driveway for the last 3 homes. And parking is a real problem, and it's been a problem for us. They're currently redoing the bridge on 77th Street, and all the building materials are stored on our block. And also, enforcement is almost impossible to get. When cars will be there for several days, and you call the police, and nothing seems to get done.
Thank you, Marvin. Bayside Drive.
Bayside Lane.
Bayside Lane, okay. So Albert knows it well. So I think what we want to do is give everybody here the number for a dispatch and how to report. And then I'm going to go next to Commissioner Tanya Bott. Commissioner Bott, I'm going to open you up before you start speaking. Again, if there's any issues with parking, take down this number. It's 305-604-4785. That's 305-604-4785. And if you have an issue with enforcement not showing up, we had the emails on. You have Jose, Albert, Jackie, these are your leadership in the parking department. So please let us know. And I guarantee you, if you call and you tell dispatch, I was at this parking meeting and they said you would come, they're gonna escalate it to us. So please let us know, 305-604
4785.
4785.
Parking and
good
code,
job.
that's parking and code.
Parking and code, so if you have a code complaint, call there too. Commissioner Bott, again with commissioners, I don't give any time limits, so Commissioner Bott, you're our last caller.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for letting me speak. I won't abuse the lack of a time limit. And I apologize that I'm not able to be with you in person. I've been dealing with a major family medical event for the last 10 days, and although it's on the mend, I am still dealing with that. No solution is perfect. And the reason why we're having these meetings is to vet things that may not have been thought of, things that we thought might be important that actually aren't, but we might have overlooked something that is important. I am a North Beach resident. I have lived on Parkview Island from 2016 until last year. I live a third of a mile away from it now. And I've been very lucky to always have parking in my circumstances, but I see the pain and I hear the pain that my friends and neighbors all throughout North Beach deal with. And some people are really lucky that they don't have to deal with it and that their parking situation is not an issue. But through just this one first meeting, I have notes on so many good ideas that have been elevated as part of this discussion. And what I would urge us all to do, because I started off vehemently against the notion of this pilot program, and I'm kind of middle of the road on it now. I'm open to it. I don't think it's perfect the way it is, but I also don't think that we collectively, as a unified neighborhood of North Beach, should necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater in service of trying to fix a problem that affects a lot of people. I absolutely hear what happens if you don't need a resident parking permit, but you want to frequent a restaurant that is a little too far to walk, or if you have friends who are coming in from out of town and they drove down, and what do we do with their car? There are so many good ideas that in this one meeting, out of a total of 4 that have come to the surface, and it's not because nobody is trying to think about all of the issues. It's that when we have these kinds of meetings, and there are more to come, lots of other good ideas get thrown into the mix. So before we all say, this is the greatest thing ever, or this is the worst thing ever, let us collectively keep working on it to try to come to a situation that we can present in a few weeks, which incorporates this feedback and resolves some of the issues. And then we can decide if we're going to move forward or not. Even, let's say, hypothetically, on the 24th at the commission meeting, we get to a point where there's a majority of residents and commissioners who think it is worth trying this pilot program for a year with all the changes incorporated. It does not start July 25th. There may be some time to continue tweaking. We may find that after 6 months, it is an unmitigated disaster, which I don't think will be the case, in which case we don't have to keep doing it for a year. We might find that it is a tremendous success, exactly the way it was planned. And guess what? We don't need to charge the $39 a year for a parking permit if you're a North Beach resident. There are lots of ways that we can collectively move forward to find solutions for what is unequivocally an issue for residents and business owners in our collective neighborhood of North Beach. Somebody mentioned that we have 4 buildings coming into town center. We have 13 buildings beyond the 72nd Street short-term rental megalopolis that we've been saddled with through previous commissions. 13 buildings in an 8 by 6 square block area. And let me remind you that short-term rentals are not going to help our situation. So there are a lot of factors that need to be considered as we move forward. And I know there are deeply held, passionate beliefs about what the right thing to do is. I'm just going to ask for your continued forbearance to keep letting us collectively noodle at how to make this the best program we can, and to determine if it's worth trying out. And that's all. That, and again, apologizing for not being able to be there in person, but I've been here since before we went live on the air, and I'm listening and taking notes intently. And I encourage you to reach out to me. My name is Tanya with a Y, Tanya, at miamibeachfl.gov. That is the fastest, best way to reach me. And I respond to everybody. So don't feel shy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So again, thank you all for coming out this evening. A caller before the Commissioner had mentioned renters are not included. Renters are included, just want to clarify that. We're going to be here. If you have any questions in Spanish, please come up. You can talk to us. And again, if you want to join us on Thursday, you're welcome to. Thank you, everybody. Good night.